shut your mouth.
The Cooper and Anthony Show.
He's going to see us and go, oh, God, not them again.
Not those two.
That's exactly what he's going to say.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello again.
He's going to say,
How are you?
I hate these guys.
Long time no see.
Is it possible you've gotten more handsome during the pandemic?
Well, those TikTok filters are...
Okay, let me do a quick intro. One of our favorite guests has returned, which means we didn't scare him off too badly last time. In some circles, he's known as Amy's husband and Tanner's father, but here we call him the better half of the legendary band Hall and Oates. Please welcome John Oates back to the show. Hello.
Hello, Cooper and Anthony. How are you all?
Now, you brought up TikTok. Do you go on TikTok? And do you get pissed when people use your songs for their benefit?
Are you kidding? It's the best thing ever happened. I think it's hysterical. I personally do not go on, but I've got a team of brilliant young TikTokers who just they're my avatars.
Mm-hmm.
They're my behind the scenes avatars on TikTok. They just tell me to do silly things and I just do them and then they put them up.
My favorite thing is I have a niece and I play her your music. I'm trying to educate her musically and I played her Sarah Smile. I was like, isn't this a beautiful song? She was like, I don't like it. And then her friend used it for a TikTok and she's like, oh my God, do you know the song Sarah Smile? It's amazing.
That goes to show you the power.
Right. I was like, that's the song I played you. Now it's on TikTok. Suddenly it has value. Your aunt, fuck her. So let's tell the folks what you're up to. This is kind of exciting. So you're going on tour with guitarist Guthrie Trapp. It'll be an intimate concert series where you guys are going to play music and tell stories. It all starts March 16th. And now, is this the first time you're leaving the house since COVID?
No, not quite. Well, how could you tell? I'm still in my pajamas, so I guess that's a sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I'm in my pajama tops. I still haven't put my bottoms on yet.
Oh, great.
We'll get there.
TMI, John. Yeah.
No, this is a show that I've done things like this before, but Guthrie Trapp and I have been friends for about 15 years. He's an incredible, among the amazing, brilliant guitarists in Nashville. He's certainly at the top. And he's a great guy as well, great hang. And what we did was, after Daryl and I did a few shows at the end of 21, and it was the big tour, the big venues with the video screens and the trucks and buses and lots of people. And I came back and I just wanted to break it down. And he and I got together and we sat in the living room and we played two acoustic guitars. And we looked at each other and said, wouldn't it be cool if we could just do this? And we both looked at each other and said, well, why not? And
right.
Then said, let's bring the living room to the stage. And that was kind of how it started. And then, what happened was it evolved into, I realized it gave me the opportunity to go back to my earliest musical roots when I was a kid and revisit and relearn in some cases, a lot of the music that made me who I am before I met Daryl, because I started playing at about 7 or 8. I met Daryl when I was 18 or 19, so I've been playing for 10 years. So I had a whole musical life before Hall and Oates. And a lot of people, of course, don't realize that, and so I get to tell stories. I get to talk about my influences and how they kind of string together. And it becomes like this little musical chronological journey, I guess you'd call it.
I love that whole idea. I like the intimacy of it. And, people love stories now. I feel like they connect more to you. Well, you tell stories in your music, but then when you actually tell a story, I feel like that's what really makes the connection happen.
No, you're 100% right. And I think a lot of people, don't realize that, the circumstances or the inspiration that's actually the real story behind the writing of some of these songs. And a lot of times it's kind of crazy and many times has very little to do with what people might think. Mm-hmm. So it's fun to kind of give them a backstory and, it kind of puts the song into context.
So no roadies, no guitar techs, nothing like that, just you.
No, nothing. No amps, no roadies, no. It's me, Guthrie, and our sound man. And
Wow.
we
And
show
possibly
up.
pajama pants.
Oh yeah. No, I'm gonna class it up for this and actually put on real pants for this.
Wow.
I want to make sure I always respect my audience. I mean, you have to.
Right.
But yeah, seriously, we have 3 microphones, one for each guitar and one for my vocal, and our 2 guitars, and that's the show.
Wow.
In my past life, I worked for a record company that you were with Atlantic Records for many years. And I would put artists at radio station venues or whatever. And I had Edwin McCain, and he would play with just him and a guitar, and the radio station would complain. I'm like, no, that's how you want to get these artists. That's a special show, is when you get somebody like that. So I can see with you doing this and telling stories how that can be special.
Well, and plus it's in these really old theaters that we're playing. We're playing these really old theaters. Some of them go back to the 20s, the vaudeville days. And those theaters were made for music. They were made to they're acoustically really great. People are comfortable. We can see them. They can see us. We literally talk to each other. We talk to the audience. And it really is a completely different type of experience.
Right. I think that's really special. And I remember, I hate to say this, but I feel like as I'm getting older, I prefer that. But I remember like years and years ago, I'd seen Pete Townsend do the same thing where he just had like a really small, something he had never done before. I'd seen The Who and it was fine, but I'll never forget that show where it was just Pete Townsend and a guitar on a small stage. And I still think about it. Like I've seen, I'm in radio forever. I've seen everybody. Anthony and I have hosted everybody. But there's something about that show and that intimacy that I just think is like beyond special. And I think you're going to find that you're going to have some surprises sitting there, seeing the faces and seeing the reaction of the audience. That's going to have a special effect on you as well. Just, you're there to be with them, but they're also there to be with you. And I think, definitely, I know you've had that before when you look out to an audience. I feel like this audience, it's going to be also intimate for you. And I bet you're going to be surprised.
Oh, I listen, it's it's called breaking down what they call the fourth wall. There is there's really that. I mean, you when you're 6 feet from people sitting in front of you, and there's no, as you said, the big amps and the staging and the lights and the, it makes a difference. It really does. And people have just called out songs. Hey, can you play this? It seriously becomes like a living room, and I love it.
Right. No, that's really okay. So let's start your storytelling then. Okay. Okay. So, and you may want to use these stories, by the way. So it's no secret that you and Hunter S. Thompson were super tight. And I was just thinking about that we never really discussed that with you before. You must have had some wild times with him. Like, what would you say is your craziest Hunter Thompson experience?
I've got a few. Hunter and I got along really well. Mostly because of the fact that he slept all day and worked all night, and I slept all night and worked all day. So we never got in each other's way, which is a good thing. But I'll tell you a funny story about how we met or how we were introduced to him. My wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. She had found this piece of property in Woody Creek, Colorado, which is outside of Aspen. And I wanted to get a house in town. And she said, no, we got to have chickens. We got to have animals. We need to have a little farm. So she said, come out to Woody Creek and meet me and the real estate agent. And we're going to look at this little farm. So there wasn't much there. There was a little cabin and it was a little horse barn, and the house had burned down years ago. So it was basically raw. And so we're standing on the property, and we're looking around with the real estate agent. And all of a sudden we hear boom, boom. And then all of a sudden we hear on the metal roof of the little barn, we hear it was the shotgun pellets. And we're literally standing right next to the barn. And I said, is this going to be a problem? And I said, well, what's that? And he goes, oh, that's your neighbor, Hunter. I think Hunter was trying to like scare us off or something.
Oh God!
I don't think he wanted anyone to buy the property.
Right? That's how he shows love. So right there in the little cabin that was still on the property
we looked inside, and there is his red Land Shark, that convertible that he had in Fear and Loathing.
Yeah.
It's in the little cabin, but he doesn't own the property. But his car is parked there.
Okay.
And so I said to the real estate agent, well, what's the deal with the car? He said, oh, that's his too. He just put it in here. I mean, because the property was vacant, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, look, this is Woody Creek. It's a whole different world out here. And so we said, okay. So we decided we were going to take the little cabin and turn it into an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment where we could live while we built the house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we couldn't do that with a car inside there.
Right.
So luckily there were keys in the car. And so I jump-started. I jumped it, started the engine. It ran. I pulled it out and I drove it up onto his lawn. I parked it directly in front of his kitchen door. And I just left it there and I walked away. And we had never met. And 20 years went by and he never said a word to me.
You're kidding.
He must have just thought the car just appeared.
Right.
So that's how the relationship started. But he was great. I mean, I think what was really cool about him was that, many things, but he liked being Hunter Thompson. He liked being that guy in the slouch hat with the cigarette holder and the milk glass full of booze and the motorcycle and when he wasn't doing that, when he was at home, we kind of watching. He loved to watch sports. We'd watch sports together. He was cool. He was just a Southern gentleman. And I remember one time it was kind of funny when Johnny Depp was doing those movies. Mm-hmm. Johnny Depp was staying at the house, and Johnny Depp would dress exactly like him.
Oh God! So you had two of them.
He would dress exactly like him, and he would sit on the front steps of the house facing the road. And I would go by and I'd see him and I knew it was Hunter because it was daytime. And so I figured, well, that couldn't possibly be him. And it turned out it was Johnny Depp. And then we, of course, ended up going to that amazing funeral where they shot his ashes out of a cannon and all that. Mm-hmm. And I played that night with Lyle Lovett and a bunch of other people. So it was an experience living across the way from him.
So you call that experience of the ashes being shot? Because we just found out, I guess it was just revealed that Johnny Depp spent $5 million to have that done.
I don't know how much it was, but it was a lot. And it was the most extravagant. I mean, I could tell you the whole story of the funeral, which is we could go all night on this. You want to hear this?
Yeah, sure. You're all we got tonight. It's just us and you.
The pressure's on, huh? Okay. So after he passed away, Johnny Depp was going to do the funeral. It was invitation only. There were people camped out on the hillsides who couldn't go to the funeral with telescopes and things like that. It was just insane. No one was allowed to drive to the property. They had a series of buses that were taking people from downtown Aspen up there. Because we lived literally across the way, we just walked, obviously. But so when you got there, they had built this. They had a whole Hollywood crew come in and stage the funeral, basically. So when you got there, you walked into this long rectangular tent, and it was all dark. It was all swabbed in black, had a lot of candles. It was very somber. It was very kind of respectful, had pictures of him and his family and things like that. And they went in. There was a very brief ceremony. A few people talked, a few his son and a few close, the sheriff and various people. And then they rolled up the back of the tent, which was like a curtain, and ushered everyone out onto the lawn. And there was this giant aluminum, cannon, which is as high. It was same height as the Statue of Liberty.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's enormous.
And a full stage with sound and lights and a whole thing, right? And so, but what we didn't know was after we walked out to the grass and where all the stuff was, they closed the curtain behind us and they transformed the place where we were into a complete bordello bar.
Oh, how cool.
So then they had this I mean, well, it's a long story, but they showed a movie of him designing his funeral back in the 70s with whoever the artist was, a good friend of his who did all anyway, and it showed Hunter literally drawing the cannon and saying, when I shut this fucking cannon, he talked like that, and
Yeah.
and there was and Johnny Depp realized it. He made it happen, and so then they rolled up the curtain and the music started. They blasted the music, and it was a full bar and everything you can think of, and everybody's drinking and going nuts. And then the music started playing, and of course, then they shot his ashes out of the cannon. It was surreal. It was. I'll tell you, I think the pharaohs would have been his funeral.
Oh, that's an amazing story. And like, how do you top that? Everybody thinks about like what they want their funeral to be like, and it's like, you know what? I'm out.
Yeah, he designed his own funeral, and Johnny Depp made it happen.
Wow. You were on the road where you were part of Hall and Oates for most of your life. And even Cooper and I have fought big time in the past, over the past couple of years. What was the biggest fight you guys had being together all that time? You had to have just a horrible fight at one point.
No, we never did. We've had disagreements, mostly like creative disagreements. And a lot of times we just turn and walk away. We never really had a knockdown. You hear all these stories about the police, having fights in the studio and, fist fights and things. We never did that. Maybe we should have. That might have been.
Get it all out. Yeah.
But no, we never really did. And we still do, we have disagreements, and then we go our separate ways and kind of let off steam, do our creative projects. And then we come back together and it's as if time stopped.
Wow.
But when you have the disagreements, how do you work them out? You can't just come back to, in any relationship, you can't come back and pretend that the issues between you are just dissolved.
Yeah, you're right. Some of those issues are never really resolved. But I think what we do is we just say, we came to the realization a while ago that our future was in our history. The future of Hall and Oates was in the legacy of music that we've made. I don't think we need to make any more music or different music. People come to hear a certain thing. And I don't want to trivialize it, but it's like that old cliche joke. What's the last thing you want to hear at a classic rock concert? Here's a song from our new album. So that being said, if you want to hear a bunch of new songs, come see my show. You'll hear lots of them.
But isn't that a disservice to us as the fans, since you guys wrote such massive hits all these years?
We have a legacy of great music. And, to be honest with you, we could do a show that sounded like a new show. We could play some of our deep tracks, and some of them are, I think, really good musically. A lot of them. They're adventurous, they're musical, they're cool and different. It wouldn't be a Hall and Oates show. It'd be this other type of show. And I would love to do something like that. And the hardcore fans, I'm sure, would like it. But the general public, they want to hear the hits. And I mean, look at all the classic acts. Look at the Eagles. I mean, and I don't mean to say anything weird by saying this, but Glenn Frey passes the way, and the Eagles just keep on going.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the songs. It's those songs. Those songs will transcend time, space, and they'll transcend the lives of the people who made them. Just like classical music. I mean, people love Mozart and Beethoven. They haven't been around for a while, but
right.
The songs haven't gone away.
Right. I find it really interesting, like I was discussing with you earlier about my niece discovering Sarah Smile and other Hall and Oates songs. What's it like to get discovered all over again by a new generation? I mean, is it like, hi, no, sorry, we've been here? Or are you happy to have them? It must be weird to be someone's discovery over and over and over again.
Oh no, I think it's amazing. I think it's the ultimate compliment. It's the ultimate compliment that something that you did in a place and time, because a song is always somehow reflective of a place and time. Our 80s songs would not have happened had we not been, in the epicenter of the 80s in New York City. They represent, to me, when I hear our 80s music, it represents that time in New York City in the 80s. However, the fact that a younger generation who has no conception of what that meant, unless they watched The Wolf of Wall Street, and then they probably thought it was an exaggeration, but it actually wasn't. It still resonates with them somehow or another. So, that's the ultimate compliment as a songwriter, that you can write something that is not, even though in your inspiration and what you think of it, it's not locked into place and time. It transcends place and time, and similar to what I was just saying about the songs of the classic groups.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I just think about like this new generation. I think I might have mentioned this to you last time, but I think about this all the time about how I don't know what the next thing is in music. We ask this question all the time whenever we interview, literally anybody. I'm not going to name drop, but current pop stars, even people like yourselves, like yourself. When you think about, so there's rock, there's disco, there's hip hop, there's all these genres. There seems to be no new genres anymore. It seems like the genre thing has stopped and just more music is being made. So what do you make of that? I feel like there should be a new movement at some point, but so far, I don't think it's happened.
Well, I kind of agree with you. I don't think any one movement has kind of, had so much power that it could generate people flocking to it. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's become a really, it's kind of, I guess, in a way, it's kind of reflective of our world and our society. It's just a mishmash of previous eras, previous styles, and it's just. But the younger writers always seem to come up with a twist on it, their own unique spin on it. Even though you'll hear elements of the 80s and the 70s and the 60s, 50s, or whatever it might be. But somehow there's a sensibility that's not the same, which I guess that's what the movement is. This ability to have, the early rockers had nothing to base it on. They were inventing something from scratch. And even through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we were kind of inventing something. Now it's kind of been invented. And now the newer generation saying, oh, look at all this amazing wealth of stuff that we can pull from.
Right.
And then they're making it their own somehow or another.
Do you still listen to current music, and does it still give you the chills that music from the 80s, 90s did back then?
I think there's a lot of great pop music being made, a really, really good pop music being made. But I think what's happened for me and what I hear is that the pop music of today is really integrated and has become one and the same with the production. The production is as much as important as the actual composition, if not more. You look at pop songs; they're written by 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 people,
right?
Are writing a pop song. Well, so obviously it's not a singular point of view. There ain't no Joni Mitchell in there, trust me.
Right.
So, you take, what you have is this amalgamation of creatives, and one person is a top line who comes up with a melody. Another person comes up with a beat on a machine or perhaps an instrument. Another person might be a producer or an arranger. Another person might be, gets sandwiches in Starbucks.
Right.
And they somehow get their name on the record,
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But that's how creative music is being made today. And it's far be it from me to say what it's not right or wrong. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
But in 100 years from now, we'll still be jamming to and loving every Hall and Oates song. And I mean, without bashing anybody, the pop stars currently, they'll be forgotten. I feel like it's just a money making thing now. It's like, what can we do that'll be really hot right now? It's a cash grab, and then who cares what happens to the music after that? I mean, Anthony and I were in top 40 music for a long time, and it's amazing how quickly that stuff churns. We just heard a song. We just did a bit last week where we just heard a song that we completely forgotten about that was like a #1 hit in 2018. And I feel like it wasn't that long ago, and we forgot about it already.
Yeah, it's hard to say what kind of legacy the music of the modern era of the millennial generation will. Some of it will sustain, and some of it probably won't. But most of it probably won't. But who's to say? It's a different culture. It's a disposable, rapid, digital, virtual culture that just seems to keep devouring itself. And
right.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, but in 2022, you can still go on TikTok and watch a cat dance to You Make My Dreams Come True. There's always a cat dancing to that song.
Maybe that's what will survive. Is the cat dancing to You Make My Dreams Come True.
Well, John, we always love having you. We adore you. We adore your stories. Everything about you is just like, you're just such a special human being. And we're really grateful that you spend time with us on our stupid show. Your tour kicks off March 16th in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania at the Colonial Theater. Are you originally from Pennsylvania or New York?
I was born in New York City, but I grew up in Pennsylvania. We moved to Pennsylvania when I was 4. So yeah, I essentially grew up in Pennsylvania, and I have to say that I booked the Phoenixville Theater for a specific reason. My father lives about 6 miles away. He's 98.
Oh,
wow!
God bless him.
He's coming to the show, and I doubt whether he'll go to too many more shows. So my sister's bringing him, and my sister's a saint because it's not going to be easy. But anyway, he's coming. So that's the only reason I booked that show. So I'm really glad other people are coming. But if there was no one in the audience except him, I'd be okay.
Is he proud of you?
I guess so. Yeah. Who was really proud of me, and my father's proud of me, yes. But who's really proud of me was my mom. My mom was a stage mom. She's the one that pushed me on stage and made me wear all these like silly clothes when I was a little kid. God, she made me wear a red blazer and white bucks. And I swear, to this day, I can never wear red.
You're triggered.
But she passed away a while back, and but she would have been really, she would be right up there, But my dad is. It's just great to see him. He's still got great spirit. He's 98 and almost 99, so it should be an interesting night.
Oh, that's cool. I love that. A complete list of tour dates can be found on John's website, johnoates.com. And on March 13th, you and Mr. Trapp will stage a live stream, right? That will feature a comfortable as a living room setting, but it'll be a live stream for people that either no longer feel comfortable going out or can't get to the show.
Yeah, it's actually a pre-recorded show that we did in Nashville earlier before the tour started. And it's streaming on mandolin.com at 8 p.m. Eastern, March 13th.
Yeah, this Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, that's this Sunday. John, thank you so much. Don't forget to go to johnoates.com, buy your tickets. It's going to sell out if it hasn't already, because it's a small, intimate show. And I'm going to come see you in New York City.
Oh, you're coming to Sony Hall.
Oh, yes, of course. Please.
Please do.
Of course.
Right.
I'm going to bring my mom.
Oh, great. I thought you were going to say you're going to bring a cat dancing to You Make My Dreams.
She'll bring her cat too.
I'll bring her cat as well. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That's perfect.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you. Have a great night.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. So are you. Thank you.